Lay down and relax. I shall read to you. The medieval world was never silent. Even from my mountain perch, I remember hearing it. Armor clattering like over-eager beetles, monks chanting their endless hum, and beneath it all a softer pulse, the heartbeat of wonder itself. In those days, between superstition and discovery, humans chased meaning the way a fledgling chases its own tail. Earnestly, bravely, and with far less grace than they imagined. They reached for knowledge as if it were a star just beyond their grasp. A feeling I understand well. When you grow old enough, even a dragon finds a few stars out of reach. A rare thing, but it happens. Mystery and faith were their twin tongues. Every illness, storm, or glimmer of light was a message from forces greater than they could see. What you small folk now call myth, they called truth. What you call science, they named miracle. And what you call dragon-induced property damage, I prefer to call unplanned thermal landscaping. These are the stories of their curiosities, the strange, the beautiful, the forgotten. Across Europe, Asia, and lands I soared over long before they had names. Secrets slept in stone and parchment, waiting centuries for someone to listen. These are not tales of dragons or sorcery, though I could give you a few with first claw accuracy, but of minds and hearts trying desperately to understand the world before them. So close your eyes, little human. Walk with me through candle-lit corridors, over moonlit seas, and into the quiet chambers of the past. Here, in the hush between heartbeat and history, if you listen as keenly as a dragon hears the shifting of a single coin, you will find the medieval mysteries. Chapter 1. The Alchemist's Tower. They said the tower was built on a whisper. I flew over those Bohemian fields often enough to hear it myself, thin, tentative, like a secret not sure whether it wishes to be spoken. At dawn its shadow stretched long across the land, a dark finger pointing eastward. Villagers passed it without raising their eyes. They believed that to look upon it directly was to summon either fortune or ruin. Humans always want their choices to be that dramatic. Inside dwelled Peter Kriege, an alchemist exiled from Prague. His tower smelled of charcoal, wine, and wet iron, pleasant enough, though it could have used a touch of brimstone. Glass orbs hung from the rafters, like tiny moons I might pluck between my talons. Shelves sagged with jars etched in symbols. No human scholar has ever truly deciphered, though I found them charmingly ambitious. By candlelight, Peter worked in silence, feeding powders into crucibles, watching them spark and sigh. To him, the crackle of metal was prayer. To me, it was reminiscent of a very small, very polite fire. He did not chase gold, much to my disappointment. I always enjoy a good treasure hunt. No, Peter pursued something subtler. The grammar of change, the moment when dull matter remembers it once danced as fire. He believed every substance carried a memory of light. In that belief, we shared a kinship. I too remember the fire before all things. In his journals he wrote, "There is no death, only movement disguised." A wise thought for one who lacked scales. He drew a candle 3 times, wick, flame, smoke, and beneath it scribbled, "One body, many names." Dragons, as you might know, appreciate such metaphors. We too are many things at once, depending on who is foolish enough to observe us. Villagers whispered of miracles. Some claimed he called storms. Others claimed he spoke to thunder. For the record, thunder is a terrible conversationalist. Yet Peter's truest gift was patience. He watched every reaction like a confession unfolding. He recorded failures with the same tidy pride as successes. He weighed the dust hidden in boiled snow. He polished molten glass into a lens, just to marvel at a flea's tiny forest of legs. Attention for him was devotion. A lesson humans often forget, and dragons often lament. One night lightning struck the tower, and it burned like a candle in rain. At dawn the villagers climbed the hill, hoping to find treasure. Humans are admirably predictable. Instead they found charred stones and a stack of notebooks. Inside were sketches of furnaces, centuries ahead of their time, notes on evaporation and pressure, and a lens filled with water that magnified worlds no naked eye had ever seen. On the final page, he wrote in soot-stained ink, "All things are one fire, waiting for the right breath." Ah, Peter, if only you had asked. I possess an excellent breath. The tower still stands, hollow and veined with moss. When the rising sun strikes its broken window, light pours across the meadow like a final experiment, still unfolding, still alive, as if the old alchemist never stopped working, only changed the shape of his laboratory to dawn itself. Chapter 2. The Architect of Shadows. Florence, ah yes, a city that wakes by color. I remember circling above it in those days, watching dawn's first breath roll down its red-tiled spine. In the blue hush before sunrise, the whole city held its breath, much like a young dragon trying not to sneeze fire during a solemn ceremony. A skill I mastered eventually. Mostly. In a dusty workshop, tucked between the city's ribs, Matteo de Rossi adjusted a mirror until a blade of light slid across his drawings. He was a mason by trade, an architect by belief, one of the rare humans who understood that stone has a soul, and that light is its truest language. Dragons have known this since the first flame, but it is always admirable when humans catch up. To Matteo, walls were instruments, shadows notes in an unfinished hymn. He watched how radiance flirted with stair edges, how narrow alleys softened a person's temper, how a courtyard coaxed voices into quiet respect. Architecture, he wrote, is not the art of building, but of listening to light. A fine line. I once told a stonemason something similar, but he ran away before I finished the sentence. Humans tend to hurry when a dragon offers unsolicited advice. Matteo punched pinholes in parchment and floated it above a lamp to study how flame became geometry. He lined niches with polished tin, turning a single candle into a room's gentle mercy. With such tricks, he bent illumination as deftly as some magicians bend cards. Only Matteo's feats were real, and far more dangerous, for they revealed truth rather than hiding it. A chapel near Siena still performs his quiet magic. At dusk on the summer solstice, a single sunbeam threads hidden glass and touches the cheek of a carved angel. For 6 brief minutes, The marble warms and glows as if breath stirs beneath it. Then the light slips away, leaving cold stone behind. The city called it Divine Matteo. Ever modest, called it precision. He aimed sunlight the way archers aim arrows, with steadier hands and far better aim. When plague emptied the streets, Matteo stayed behind, experimenting with kindness, a rare art, even rarer among dragons, though I dabble. He discovered that 2 candles placed near a pale wall gave warmer comfort than one set in the center. For the dying, he wrote, brightness should rest upon the hands. His later sketches show thresholds that feel like answers, corners that refuse to menace, windows that concede instead of conquer. After he departed this world, quietly, as light itself does, his apprentices found blueprints for structures no patron had ordered. Rooms designed simply for calm, courtyards that breathed like lungs centuries later. Scholars would recognize in those sketches early optics, passive illumination, even whispering galleries disguised as mere decoration. His name faded, as human names too often do, but his philosophy endured. Light and shadow are companions, not adversaries. One reveals what the other protects. Visitors still lower their voices inside Matteo's chapels. Even now, the shadows feel gentle, as though they remember their maker and the tenderness with which he shaped them. And each solstice, when the angel's cheek brightens in its brief appointment with the sun, I cannot help but wonder, is it the sculpture honoring the star, or the star honoring the man who taught stone to breathe? Chapter 3. The Healer of Glass. In medieval Damascus, that shimmering jewel of brass, spice, and sun. I often glided above its rooftops, letting the warm desert air stroke my scales. There, among the markets that glittered like spilled treasure, lived a physician named lair, a woman who healed not only with herbs and skill, but with light itself, a rare ally of the sun. Most dragons claim that honor, but I do admire competition. Her little apothecary nestled between a perfumer and a glass-blower, and from both she borrowed secrets as deftly as a dragon borrows unattended goats. She believed illness began as clouded spirit, not merely wounded flesh. To treat the body, she said, one must teach it to see clearly. A philosophy I've always appreciated. Clarity is a precious thing, especially when deciding whether a villager is bringing tribute or trouble. So Lale learned to melt sand into color. Her furnace glowed blues and greens, and from its mouth she drew bottles so thin they sang when touched, glass that caught sunlight like captured breath as she steeped rosemary, rue, and hyssop in warmed oil, then poured them into her luminous flasks, each one glowing like a drop of amber dawn. You lend your strength to the remedy, she whispered to the light. I tried whispering to light once, but it answered in a language only phoenixes truly understand. When her patients recovered, she asked them to breathe into an empty vessel before they left. Give your sickness to the light, she said. She sealed each bottle and set it upon her windowsill, where sun poured through until the inner mist cleared. Some patients returned months later to find their bottle bright as morning. Others swore the glass still held a faint echo of their voice. Dragons appreciate such touches, Bottled echoes make excellent keepsakes. For centuries, scholars dismissed her as legend, a charming myth carried on spice-scented winds. But then fragments of her glass surfaced in a buried cistern, vials streaked with oils, now known to kill infection. Her notebooks, water-stained and stubborn, like any text that survives through sheer indignation, described heat that cures and light that persuades, an intuition of sterilization before the word existed. One recipe for liquid light listed ground quartz, honey, and a dusting of silver. Ingredients modern minds now nod at in belated agreement. And the story that outlived her. Ah, that one, I remember well. They said that when she died, every sealed bottle in her shop clouded at once, as though exhaling by morning each turned crystal clear. Even I felt a tremor in my chest when I heard it, though I blamed it, of course, on indigestion. Today a few of her vessels rest in Aleppo's museum. Under certain light, rainbow skins tremble inside them, as if memory has learned to become a color. Lair did not seek immortality, only clarity. She taught broken bodies to remember transparency, and taught the sun how to become a healer's quiet companion. In doing so, she turned glass into mercy itself. Chapter 4. The Map of Forgotten Stars. High in an abbey above the Rhine, a perch almost worthy of myself, lived a near-sighted monk named Conrad. He walked the cloister at night, whispering star names like prayers. I watched him sometimes from the rafters. He never noticed, of course. Humans rarely look up where dragons perch. Convenient, really. Conrad could not see far, but memory served him with fierce loyalty. And so, by winter's end, he could draw the whole night sky from recollection alone, dot after tiny dot, stitched together like careful embroidery. A humble talent, but one the heavens seemed to enjoy. After his death, the brothers unrolled his maps and blinked in astonishment. Some constellations were familiar, others belonged to a sky no European had ever seen. They matched star groups from the southern hemisphere, far beyond the reach of any monk's gaze. No telescope could have given him such visions, scholars argued, as scholars enjoy doing. Imagination, error, revelation, or perhaps an early attempt at dragon-sightedness? I kept silent on that theory. His journal held the answer. The scriptorium's work table was capped with a thick slab of polished glass, used to flatten vellum. Conrad wrote of ghost stars he glimpsed upon its surface, pale, wandering reflections that drifted whenever the lamps moved. Modern optics would call it refraction. The lamp's light bending through uneven glass, projecting faint, inverted constellations inspired by travelers' drawings pinned nearby. But Conrad, trained by prayer to gather meaning from fragments, stitched those drifting glimmers into a coherent sky. He never claimed holy sight. In his small, modest hand he wrote, "The soul is a compass. It remembers places it has not yet been." On another page, he sketched two circles overlapping, known and unknown, and beneath them, "Where they meet, hope." Ah, hope. A rare treasure even dragons value more than gold. Almost. He cross-checked sailors' tales of southern birds and strange fish against his ghost stars, revising his maps each season until his imagined southern sky held together. Today his parchment hangs behind museum glass, still dusted with candle soot. Stand at the right angle and the ink seems to shimmer, as if the stars themselves are grateful for being remembered. Whether through miracle or patient error, Conrad charted 2 heavens, one above his cloister, and one hidden in the tricks of glass and light. In doing so, he proved what every map-maker learns eventually, that exploration begins in the mind, and the unknown is often just a mirror, teaching the future how to see. Ah, human, you have traveled far tonight. You have walked through towers of flame and chapels of light, crossed seas that breathe and deserts that remember, wandered forests where even the wind keeps its promises. You have listened well, better than many kings, and certainly better than most dragons' apprentices. They tend to nap halfway through, but now the hour grows soft. Even I, who have seen 1,000 midnights come and go, can feel the weight of the sky settling into its quiet. The stars are dimming their claws, the moon curls like a silver scale beneath its clouds. And you, yes, you, your eyes carry that gentle heaviness that comes when the mind is full and the heart is calm. It is time to rest, young one. Close your thoughts like a book whose pages still glow with wonder. Let the stories hum in the dark behind your eyelids. Let sleep rise around you like warm mist in a dragon's lair. Safe, sheltered, glowing faintly with leftover magic. Do not fear the night. I will keep watch. Dragons sleep with one eye open, after all. Though I promise not to snore flames in your direction. Rest now. Dream lightly. Tomorrow the world will wait for you. But tonight, let it drift. Good night, traveler of mysteries. May your dreams be soft, and your heart steady as dragon fire. Good night, humans.